USA Ultimate is proud to present the 2017 US Open Ultimate Championships. We welcome you to the National Sports Center in Blaine, Minnesota, in the first men's semifinal. Two great programs in men's ultimate. Denver Johnny Bravo, the 5th seed, and the number 1 seed of the tournament, San Francisco Revolver, the 4-time champ, ready to give Bravo its best shot. On the other side of the bracket, Sockeye and Truck Stop will square off later, but it's Bravo and Revolver to get our triple header of semifinal coverage started. And with that, we welcome you to the U.S. Open. I'm Evan Lepler. Great to be alongside Megan Tormey, fresh off a gold medal at Masters Nationals. And Megan, this is a fascinating matchup. Bravo and Revolver, two teams in contention for a national title every single year.
Yeah, and it's really no wonder. You look at a team like Revolver, who has a lengthy resume of excellence. Without considering 2016, they've won major titles for the previous 6 years, either worlds or nationals. So they are very practiced at performing at very high levels.
They've got the sour taste in their mouth, no doubt, from last year, but they've got an incredibly loaded squad. And this Johnny Bravo team actually beat Revolver the last time they met. That was at the Pro Flight finale in 2016. They're excited to get another shot at him. Jim Shetler, who coached Colorado Mama Bird for such a long time, he's back for year 2 as the Bravo head coach. And Jimmy Mickle, the golden boy from Golden, Colorado, fresh off a gold medal at the World Games, just entering his prime.
He's an absolute dominant force on the field, one who's very difficult to contain. When he gets the disc, he can place it just about anywhere he wants to, and with as talented of receivers as Bravo has, he's a very difficult force to reckon with.
They're starting him downfield, but he will come get the disc and dish it to the end zone. San Francisco Revolver, 4 national titles, 3 world titles. Mike Payne has been an important part to all of them. And Jimmy Mickle may be a golden boy of ultimate, but George Stubbs, one of the faces of the sport too. Jimmy Mickle's teammate on the USA World Games team, and a guy who can really just do everything on the field.
His versatility is really what makes him valuable in a program like Revolver. You can place him anywhere on the field, and you know that he's going to distribute the disc with greatness. And with as wide of and as deep of a talent as Revolver has, when you have someone like Stubbs at the helm, you know that he's going to put stats on the board every time he's on the field.
Well, he's well respected in the sport, no doubt, but he's still looking for that first national title. He was knocked off by his brother on Universe Point last year in Rockford. The Triple Crown Tour is underway. Men's semifinal number 1 coming up next. The U.S. Open Ultimate Championships are presented by Discraft Ultrastar. Find the official disc of USA Ultimate at more than 1,900 U.S. retail locations. Picture-perfect conditions in Blaine, Minnesota. Johnny Bravo will begin the game on offense with a very talented line led by Jimmy Mickle. Owen Westbrook will be the center handler. Ben Laurie, Stanley Peterson, Austin Gregerson, Jesse Ream, and Nick Lance returning to the men's division after a year away. And this is the Revolver defense with Rasmussen, Joy, Kittredge, Doy, fresh from playing with Truck Stop the last several years, Higgins, Schlockett, and Marcy for Payne and Anderson. Gorgeous conditions, not much wind, upper 70s. It has been very nice throughout the weekend. And it really will ramp up, Megan, over the next 24, 30 hours or so. 3 semifinals today, 1 more tomorrow, and then 3 championship games on Sunday. What you need to know, it's 7-on-7, first to 15 wins. Soft cap goes on, 85 minutes in, and we are underway in the first men's semifinal. The winner of this will face the winner of Sockeye and Truck Stop. Seattle and DC will square off in the other one. And Johnny Bravo begins in their patented vertical stack, which has been one of Jim Shetler's specialties for years. Nick Lance gives it to Ben Laurie, marked by Cassidy Rasmussen. It's always so interesting to watch the matchups early in the game. It's Eli Kearns chasing Owen Westbrook, and Byron Liu, the tough challenge of chasing Jimmy Mickle.
Challenge I would like, but he's a good person for it. Very interestingly, Revolver has shirts that they distribute amongst themselves as a significant part of achievement, and he previously, in the previous game, won the shirt for spirit and intensity.
There's great intensity from Greg Cohen laying out for the D. Kearns on the doorstep. Johnny Bravo knocking off Boston Ironside this morning to eliminate Ironside from the Final Four contenders. But they get broken in the opening point, and it's bookends for Greg Cohen.
A nice, quick, clean first score from Revolver. As you said, Greg Cohen started that off with a layout D. And just some smooth offense from Revolver. Really unfortunate for Johnny Bravo to have that turn happen so close to their end zone, especially with a team like Revolver. They're perfectly capable of some nice, smooth offensive flow right outside the end zone.
Let's go, baby!
Rasmussen swinging it to Spear, and Mike Spear picking up the assist. You know, it was Cohen who got the D, but Byron Lou's hassling of Mickle on the mark certainly disrupted Jimmy's rhythm.
Yes, Greg! Yeah, baby!
Well, it's such a big game whenever these two teams square off, but it's such a huge tournament and a massive complex here at the National Sports Center in Blaine, Minnesota. There are over 3,000 athletes here between the adult U.S. Open division and the YCC national titles, the youth club championships that are going on, and all that competition going on simultaneously. So if you're wondering why the crowd seems a little sparse, there are just so many players and fans spread out across this massive complex here just outside the Twin Cities. Every year, Revolver has multiple D-lines that they like to throw at their opponents. Eli Friedman chasing Nick Lance this time. These are two players that did not compete for these teams last year. Eli Friedman, of course, won the Callahan at University of Oregon, stepped away from competitive ultimate for a time because of his job, but he's back and he's playing, their head coach Mike Payne says, better than ever. Ream chased by Dahlman. Mickle, he loves that hammer, especially to Peterson. Holsters it this time. Ben Laurie will see his sister Lizzie later today with Denver Molly Brown. But Bravo's O-line turns it over for a second straight point.
Revolver really had some very tight defense on Bravo that possession. They made it difficult for Bravo to start to develop offensive flow. Mickles attempted.
Here we go, Friedman looking for Christian Johnson, and he'll find him. Johnson beats Peterson deep, and back-to-back breaks for Revolver.
Man, very tough for Bravo this point. Here's the throw that Mickle was attempting to get around that just was sailed a little too wide. And then Revolver picking it up, not really feeling much pressure from Johnny Bravo as they marched it down the field.
Majestic shot from Friedman to Christian Johnson. And Bravo, I believe, has taken a timeout. The perfect start for Revolver. You know, it's funny, everybody thinks of Revolver as this perennial champion, but between these two teams, Megan, Bravo is the one that won its pool. Johnny Bravo went 4-1 in their pool. A loss this morning to Philadelphia Patrol, which raised some eyebrows, but they knocked off Truck Stop, knocked off Ironside, while Revolver finished second in their pool at 4-1 with a loss to Sockeye.
Mike Payne was explaining Revolver's outcome so far in the tournament and said they've had much more inconsistent play than he was hoping for. But perhaps this is signaling a settling into both roles and the intensity required to do well at the U.S. Open.
Here's Pool B. There was some chaos here because inside Raquete, They may have gone 0-5, but they were competitive. They took Ironside to Universe. They were neck and neck with Truck Stop for much of the game. That basically a German national team that's getting ready for the World Championships in 2018, which will be held in Cincinnati in the Midwest. One of the cool dynamics, Megan, of this U.S. Open is the international flavor. A couple years ago, we saw Australia, Melbourne, Australia's Ellipsis, go all the way in the mixed division. We'll see a team from Colombia, Revolution, in a women's semifinal later today.
Fire, 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 fire. Fire. Yes, Kevin blocks. Oh, great. Inside.
Laurie marked by Rasmussen.
Nice, man.
There's Mikkel, again chased by Lou.
No line, no line, no line. Yes, Byron. Yes, Byron. Yes, Byron.
You know, as we've watched Johnny Bravo throughout this tournament, they might be a little deeper of a team than they were last year. And they try, it seems, to play with that depth and not rely on Jimmy too much. This might be the game they need to rely on him more. Although, smooth offense there as Gregerson hits Wes Chow to get Johnny B on the board.
And that looks like a completely different team than we saw out on the field the previous 2 points.
Yeah, G.
Here, Mikkel exhibiting smooth fundamentals, just passing it along to his teammates, all on the open side, all uncontested.
You've been in enough huddles to know that so many times it's not the coach pulling a lever of strategy, it's just getting everybody to calm down.
Absolutely, that mental reset can be so crucial when a team comes out flat like Bravo did. Just reminding one another, hey, we're here to have a good time. We've practiced so hard together. We truly have the ability to play good ultimate together.
Wes Chow, Colorado Mama Bird alum. Young fella, just 23. So we'll get to see the San Francisco O-line for the first time. And this line, I think you could say it has a chance to be pretty good.
One might say that, yeah.
Bo Kittredge, Simon Higgins, Joel Schlockett, George Stubbs, Ashlyn Joy, Jordan Marcy out there as well. Ashlyn Joy missed the competition on Friday, but he was available this morning. Here's Stubbs, marked by Elliot Erickson. You know, it's funny, yesterday George Stubbs was basically playing the Ashlyn Joy role, and now he's going deep, but so is Bo Kittredge. Stewart's shot was underthrown, but Bo adjusted well. Bo just turned 35 in June. He's had a legendary career. The tips still frosted after the USA team came together with that unique hairstyle at Worlds. And there's Jordan Marcy streaking into the end zone. Schlockett to Marcy, and a very clean and crisp first O point for Revolver.
Stubbs exhibiting that versatility we were talking about before, starting with a good initiation and that long throw, albeit sailing a little short, but saved by Bo Kittredge. Here we see Bravo's defense clamp down just a little bit, making Revolver look twice, 3 times before finding that open receiver. But all the same, without too much effort, they found themselves in the end zone.
Obviously, there's so many big names that if you follow the sport, names on Revolver that you know, like Bo and George and Ashlyn and Nick Stewart, and you could just go on and on. Jordan Marcy is a guy that you may not know that well. However, remember, he was on Universe Point during the national championship game last year, and Mike Payne thinks that there may be a lot of Joel Schlockett in Jordan Marcy, and that's high praise.
Yes, Russell! Yes, Russell!
Good pull will allow the Revolver defense to get set. Gregerson to Peterson to Ream. Nickel just shy of midfield. And he'll take the shot. Nick Lantz in pursuit. And he's got it. That's an example of why Jimmy Mickle has racked up so many assists throughout the weekend.
And that just goes to show the chemistry between the players on Bravo. Lance set that up beautifully. He made a few steps in as a fake cut once Jimmy Mickle received the disc, as we see right here. Recognizing Mickle had the disc, knowing what he's capable of, Lance took those few steps in, then cut back towards the middle of the end zone. Mickle had no problem hitting him.
It's fun to have Nick Lantz back on the field. That's an understatement. One of the most exciting players in the sport to watch. Won the Callahan at Georgia Tech. Creative thrower, mega athlete. Got married last August. Coming up on a year with his new wife, Megan. Took a year off, and he wasn't able to play at the Colorado Cup because of a muscle pull in his back, but getting back on the field. And he makes a huge difference for this Bravo team. He might take them to a different level than they were a year ago.
And there's no question as to why. He can read the field really well, and as I mentioned earlier, has good chemistry with his teammates, highly reactive on the field, and that can make the difference between offense struggling and thriving.
Left hand, left hand, left hand, left hand. Yes.
No
right.
Bo out there on offense this point for Revolver. Joy and Marcy and Stubbs with Stewart, Higgins, Sanchez, and Tom Doy, who has come across the country to join San Francisco. And Higgins wants Stewart. He's got it just shy of the end zone. And George Stubbs is there. Another clean point. Revolver has played turnover free through the first 6 points.
A nice put from Higgins, perhaps a little loftier than he anticipated. Stubbs did a good job of recognizing that it was coming down, not sailing quite as far. Stewart recognized that it was not sailing quite as far. Chulit at his back. He went up high, he went up early, grabbed that disc in, and then found Stubbs in the end zone.
Nick Stewart to George Stubbs. Combination that Team USA had at the World Games. That was just a couple weekends ago when the USA national team went to the World Games. There's 6 countries in the ultimate competition. Stubbs and Stewart, 2 of the 7 USA men on the team. Of course, Bo was another. Grant Lindsley was another. He's not available this weekend for Revolver. Asked Mike Payne what that meant for them. He said, well, it always hurts to lose the best initiation cutter in the world. Maybe put a little more pressure on Simon Higgins and George Stubbs to be that initiation cutter early. And there's a Revolver player shaken up. And it's Antoine Davis, a Revolver rookie, who, if you haven't seen him play, there are members of the team that think he could be athletically Bo Kittredge-esque. Bottom of your screen, Davis getting tangled up with Peterson. He just kind of went down.
Get under him. Get it. Come on, Lucas. Yes, Eli.
Lance to Westbrook. And hear the fire call. That's a signal that Revolver's matching up man-to-man. Great active mark by Rasmussen.
Megan, there's no question Revolver is making Bravo work for every inch it gets. And Dahlman will eat up that hammer. And then give it right back. First turnover for San Francisco. A bit of a gift. Mickle to the end zone. He's got Laurie.
Very interesting point. We started off with some perfect offense from Dever, being very patient against Revolver. There's that poorly thrown hammer that went straight to Dahlman, turned around, turfed the disc himself. Bravo was very quick to capitalize on that mistake. The fact that Revolver's defense hadn't clamped down gave Bravo enough time to set up a stack and make a cut from it.
What comes to mind when you watch Jimmy Mickle throw? Because he has a power to his distribution that is not too common in Ultimate.
That's a really good point. Mickle is excellent at using his entire body when he throws. You notice that he stomps down, steps out, gets low, and really generates a lot of power from his core. Obviously, the flick, the spin of the wrist is what helps make the disc fly as far as it does, but when you get as much spin as he does, not just from the flick of the wrist, but rather the torque of the body, can really send that disc even farther.
And the way he's reshaped his body since he won a national championship in college, I mean, he needed to take that next step, and it was in part training with Bo Kittredge, training with Dylan Freechild. He has certainly put himself in the conversation to be the best in the world.
Keep running, Tom. Keep running, Tom. Find it, Becky. Becky.
This is Stubbs, and he'll launch. Higgins can't get there. So the door opens for Bravo to get one of the two breaks back.
Yeah, I think Stubbs was trying to dictate Higgins with that throw as opposed to throwing to an already streaking deep Higgins. When the throw went up, Higgins wasn't quite at full speed and therefore wasn't there to receive it.
Conker's bid so close, but he couldn't come up with it. He can charge David Wheeler with the overthrow. How close was Conker? Needed another 6 inches. Back to live action. Joy wants Kittredge just shy of the end zone. And Kittredge to Doy.
Can't wait to see the replay of Tom Doy zigging and zagging to get open.
He's an impossible guard when he's doing that.
Here we have the throw to Kittredge that gets him right outside of the end zone. Doy is close and basically just plays with his defender.
It really felt unfair to the world to have Tom Doy playing on the Masters Beach USA national team in France this past June. And Tom Doy, who could be an O-line cutter, I think, on any open team or mixed team, any level team, you'd want Tom Doy. And it felt like every point watching that USA Open Masters team was, you know, either Bart Watson or Andrew Brown would catch the pull. They would center to the other. They would hit Tom Doy, who would basically gain half the beach, and then Tom Doy would throw it usually deep to Ray Ilian or Moses Rifkin, and boom, they scored. And it took about 7 seconds for them to get down that short beach field.
Far side, Hooker. Russ, gotta go. Hooker.
So far, Bravo has turned it 4 times, Revolver twice. If you joined us a little late, Bravo received the opening pull and the O-line was shaky. And I don't think they've figured everything out quite yet. Dahlman, who has one of the 2 turnovers for Revolver, picks up.
Jesse, flat for two. Now watch it. Great.
Johnson floats it. Kevin Cox. Mickle almost got there, but Cox left his feet for the score.
What a beautiful layout and what a beautiful attempt on that from Jimmy Mickle.
I'm not sure Cox realized he was coming. First, here's the turnover. You think Cox heard the footsteps?
I don't think anyone knew he was coming. Wow.
Acrobatic effort from Mickle, who had to take an injury because of an injury to his side during the last game of pool play against Ironside, but he said he was okay. He returned to the game a couple points later. Kevin Cox, the goal, and Christian Johnson, the former University Dark Side player.
One of the goals Coach Shetler had for Johnny Bravo today was to react to the defensive matchups, and I think they're struggling with that just a little bit. Across the board, Revolver's defensive pressure is very high, but I think that they're being partially slowed down by the very smart matchups that Revolver's putting on some of their key players, making them a little less potent than they typically are.
It's only 6-3, but this feels like a must score for Bravo. They've already been broken 3 times here in the first half. Oh no, Owen Westbrook had the disc flutter on him. Kearns wants the big hammer. Perhaps a little overly ambitious.
You know, Evan, I couldn't agree more that this feels like a must-score situation for Bravo. It seems as though the theme of this weekend has been that teams who go down early end up closing the gap and trading points.
Mickle elevates over Cohen through the contact. He hangs on. And let's hope both of them are okay. Those are 2 heavyweight deep threats.
That's exactly what I was thinking. What a collision of 2 very large individuals. Such solid players. That could not have been nice for either of them.
Right on the side near the tailbone.
But all the same, quite impressive that Mickle was able to maintain possession of that disc.
I think Gregerson perhaps wanted a little more depth to that throw. He had 15 yards to the back of the end zone to work with.
Yeah, you notice Mickle had to slow down here. Would have avoided any contact if he had been continuing momentum. As fast as Greg Cohen is, I don't think he could have closed the gap.
He has played so much ultimate over the past 5 months. Between his semi-professional team, the Dallas Roughnecks, the USA World Games team, Denver Johnny Bravo being a leader on this program as well. And as you watch these top players practice, Megan, the durability is just astounding with the way they throw their bodies around. They have to condition their bodies to sustain that. And I'm sure that's something you had to do during the heyday of your career as well.
It's funny that you mentioned that. I hosted a few of the I hosted a few of the Eurostar women who, if you don't know, there was a Eurostars tour. Some of the best players from Europe came over. There were a women's team playing against some of the top women's team in the United States. And Izzy Burke from England was talking about how much of a toll Ultimate in particular takes on your body. There's no other sport quite like it where you're pounding the ground as much as you are, laying out, of course, without any padding. So it certainly does take its toll, and when you're playing to the extent that some of these top players are, it is very difficult to condition your body to withstand that kind of effort continuously.
Not a good pull from Bravo. Gives Revolver great field position as if their offense needs a little help. And very quickly, Marcy hits Kittredge.
This is fun!
Feel like Revolver's offense is having more points like this, where they look down the field and there's the obvious connection that needs to be made. It seems like Bravo's having more of an arduous time working it down the disc, and Revolver's had a few points where they scored this quickly and this effortlessly.
Bo Kittredge still going strong. The Phenom originally from Fairbanks, Alaska.
Yeah, go!
Was watching Revolver play sockeye yesterday and was thinking as Bo walked to the line for big offensive points at 14 all and at 15-14, and the number of big game points he has played, I mean, it has to be in the thousands at this point. You think about the experience he had from college to club to Worlds. And it's not just the amount of Ultimate he's played, it's the amount of Ultimate he's played with a target on his back. And it's hard to put those miles into perspective.
And what that does to a person's ability to step onto the field and face the pressure with a bravery that comes only with experience, comes only with time.
Inside, up!
Gregerson sneaks it through to Ben Laurie.
Eli!
Daring shot. Eli Kearns says no way. That cute throw works against some teams, but tough to get it past Revolver.
Daring was an excellent word for it.
So Revolver trying to break Bravo for the fourth time in the half to take half. Kearns lets it rip.
This is you, baby!
Johnson trying to box out Gregerson, and he's got it on the second effort. Kevin Cox will take us to halftime. Wow, what a clinical first half from San Francisco Revolver.
What a put from the middle of Bravo's end zone.
Missed opportunity for Gregerson to get the D, and Cox could have had a cup of tea and caught the disc with the other hand.
Yeah, nobody else followed the play. That's kind of one of the things they teach you early in your Ultimate career is follow the play. It was quite clear he wasn't getting that disc into the end zone. Sure, everyone presumed that Gregerson was going to D it, but it was a great read from Travis. He maintained his position so that as the disc sailed over his head, he could turn and catch it.
8-4 Revolver at the half, and Johnny Bravo coach Jim Shetler joins us down on the field. And Jim, obviously they threw a pretty big punch at you. What will you say to your guys to try to regroup?
Well, this has been our issue, is just being consistent, and so we need to sort of take a breath in these situations and just execute. We've missed on our executions, we've missed on our decisions, we've missed on our Ds, so we're really not hitting on any cylinder right now, so we just need to take a breath and come out and play the second half.
Is there someone in the squad who you're going to let talk during the halftime speech to help pep people up and change the mental attitude?
Me? No, I think everybody knows what they need to do. I don't think we're going to look to any one player to sort of set our tone. It's going to have to be a team tone at this point to win.
Jim, previous round, you guys had some clutch breaks down the stretch to beat Ironside to make it to the semifinals. What's been the story of the weekend as you develop toward September and October for this Johnny Bravo team of 2017?
Well, I think the story of the weekend for us has been our inconsistency and what we need to do to fix that. So, we beat the top two seeds in our pool and we lose to a lower seed in our pool just because we don't play well. We come out in this game and we automatically give up 2 breaks right off the bat, and then we never really find our groove. So we know how to do it. We just have to figure out the mental game. So I think that's sort of a negative focus, but I think on the positive side, we've started to figure out our defense, and at this point in the season, if we could come away with the tournament with a good solid defensive strategy, we'll be in okay shape.
There's a long way to go, both today and this year. We'll let you go talk to your team. Thanks so much for the time, Jim.
All right, thanks, Evan.
That's Jim Shetler, the former Callahan Award winner back in the 90s. He played at Stanford, played a great club career as well. And now he's trying to lead Bravo, but they've got an uphill climb against Revolver. 8-4, San Francisco leads at the half. We're back in the National Sports Center in Blaine, Minnesota. It's 8-4, San Francisco. Revolver leading Denver, Johnny Bravo. Revolver began with back-to-back breaks and never trailed in this first half. And Megan Tormey will jump into these highlights. Bravo made a few plays, but for the most part, it was San Francisco Revolver just playing clinically, both offensively and with great pressure defensively.
Right, we saw Bravo come out trying to make a run for this sport, and they were able to work together to get the disc in the end zone a few times, but for the most part, Revolver was looking super smooth, just clinical in their offense, the way they worked together, stayed patient when Bravo's defense did clamp down a little bit, but for the most part, able to work themselves all over the field without issue.
Doesn't feel like the Revolver O-line has had to do too much, and when they maybe made a mistake, Higgins maybe could have thrown that a little deeper. He was bailed out by a superstar like Nick Stewart, and that is the thing with Revolver. To beat them, you not only have to out-strategize them, but you have to out-athlete them, and I'm not sure there's anyone in the country right now that can out-athlete this team.
Well, Mickle certainly made the attempt there with that amazing bid for the D, but it wasn't enough to take the disc away from Revolver, and in fact, that seems to be the name of this game, is that with as much effort as Bravo is putting in, Revolver seems to be doing it just a little bit better.
San Francisco Revolver coach Mike Payne joins us at the half. Mike, your team's up 8-4. You've led the entire way. What did you like most from your defensive effort to get those early breaks?
I think our marks are actually doing an incredible job staying close. These guys, as you can tell, like to throw little discs over the top, inside out, around. And I think we're stopping that flow for the most part, and we're learning from what they're doing. You saw Eli Kearns get a D in that last point where he saw what had happened up the field, and he got a block on the little inside-out flipper.
One of your goals for this weekend and from this day forward was getting on the same page, which you seem to be right now. What happened at the beginning of this game that helped you reach this goal?
I think we've just been learning each other over the course of the weekend. We've got 5 brand new guys on this team, and we've got a lot of really young players, and this has been a chance with some of our guys missing from this tournament to come out and get those new and young guys incorporated. So I think we've just built rapport over the course of the weekend. Yesterday we were not on the same page, and this morning we got on the same page, and we're continuing that into this game.
Mike, we haven't had a chance to talk to you on ESPN since the national title game last year. What was it like getting this year's team to turn the page from last year?
You know, I got to say that this team doesn't really talk much about that and doesn't really worry much about it. We've done our fair share of winning in this program, and we've also done our fair share of losing. Definitely, losing by 1 point in the finals last year is fueling a fire, but it's not something that we're worried about. And we actually got together before this tournament and talked about what we were afraid of coming into this tournament. We do that for a lot of important tournaments, and it actually helps us scrub away some of the concerns and really focus on the positives.
Is there ever any concern, this might be a ridiculous question, but is there ever any concern that you have too much talent?
I think it's definitely a concern. When you have a team that has this much core talent, the question is, are they going to be too full of themselves, to be frank, and also try and do too much. And it was really funny when we did our fear session. The number one fear that our guys had would be that they would be tempted to do too much on the field here. But I think we've stayed humble, which is one of our core values, and really come through so far.
It's been an impressive first half. It's been an impressive program for more than a decade. Mike Payne, best of luck in the second half. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
That's the Revolver head coach. He was a player for this program when it started. Now a leader from the sidelines. And George Stubbs, a captain, leading Revolver up by 4 at the break. At the half, it's Revolver 8 and Bravo 4. Couple assists apiece for Austin Gregerson and Jimmy Mickle on the Bravo side. For San Francisco Revolver, each of their last 2 breaks have been Christian Johnson to Kevin Cox. Second half between San Francisco and Denver coming up. The first of 3 semifinals on ESPN3 today. It's an excess of talent on the offensive line for Revolver. They're getting ready to receive with a 4-break lead as we begin the second half of this first men's semifinal. Evan Lepler alongside Megan Tormey, who competed for years at USAU Nationals with Chicago Nemesis, won a Masters gold medal not all that long ago. Megan, congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
And Revolver ready to receive. Marcy to Joy. Megan, what do you think we have to see from Bravo?
Well, they've dug themselves into a hole, that's for sure, and it hurts that Revolver is on O starting this half. But if we see some ramping up of the defensive intensity, even if they just slow down the Revolver offense, that would be a good goal to achieve right now. But they've got to generate some opportunities and then maintain possession of the desk when they do. On offense, they've got a lot of work to speed things up. Revolver has just sort of truncated their offensive potential, and they've got to work past Revolver's defense.
You wonder who on Bravo can be the guy to make a play on defense.
Oh.
And I believe a pick is going to bring this back. I mean, the candidates in that who's going to make a play category, certainly Henry Conker could make a play. Stanley Peterson could make a play. Matt Jackson, you may not be too familiar with him. It's his first year on Bravo. He played for Kansas City Prairie Fire last year. Just moved out to Denver from Arkansas. There's also Tom Chulit from Australia, who has made his fair share of plays in the past. Good switch there, but Schlockett, as he does, finds the narrowest of alleys. It's his first goal of the game. He had an assist in the first half, and Joel continues to be Joel.
So Revolver still walked away with the goal, but they had to take a lot of throws to get to the end zone. Schlockett having to make not the smoothest of catches, jumps into the end zone to score that point. That wasn't as effortless as we've seen them score so far. So perhaps that is a ramping up of the Bravo defense. At the beginning, I noticed that Revolver set up in a side stack, giving them a lot of room to move down the field. But as Revolver neared the end zone, Bravo really slowed them down. They had to pass the disc back and forth in front of the end zone before they were able to work it in. So this might be a turning point for Bravo if that's the kind of pressure they're going to start applying to Revolver.
Now we'll see. Ashlyn Joy, so hard to fluster, so comfortable and confident with the disc. Did not play club last year, of course. He took a year off. He played for the World Championship USA team. Largely considered the best thrower in the world. Revolver didn't have him yesterday, and George Stubbs went into that role. And I asked Mike Payne, really the difference between Stubbs and Joy in that role. He said, well, Ashlyn may be a little more comfortable breaking the mark. It allows us to use the whole width of the field a little bit more. And he also says George Stubbs is one of the best initiation cutters in the world, so it's nice to have him start downfield. Mickle launches. Denny Beaches with a quick reset to Ream. And that was easy. Perhaps the easiest score of the day for Johnny B. Eric Hotailing with the score.
It's a nice put from Mickle. Beaches not having to work too hard to grab that disc. Really helped stretch the field for Bravo. His teammates were quick to react, came right at the front of the disc. Revolver didn't have a lot of opportunity to set up. They looked a little flustered. They looked a little unnerved. Bravo definitely had the upper hand that point.
Hotailing, 23 years old, out of Colorado. And Jesse Ream, captain once again for Johnny Bravo. He's 29 years old. He last cut his hair when he was 16. Johnny Bravo coming out of Pool B. They went 4-1, as Jim Shetler mentioned, the inconsistency. They beat Truck Stop, they beat Ironside, but they lost to Patrol this morning. And I saw that result and said, did you guys give your all that game? Did you really want to win? Were you saving something for Ironside? And chatting with a bunch of guys in the sideline, they said, look, we wanted to win that game. We just didn't play well. We had 9 or 10 turnovers on offense. And Philadelphia Patrol, who's underrated and could make some noise in the men's division this year, really capitalized. George Stubbs looking for Ashland Joy. And how about that? Ashland Joy showing off his versatility, beating Joe Anderson deep. And at 10-5, San Francisco.
He may not have been here yesterday, but it certainly didn't take Ashland Joy very long to stack up some stats. He has thrown 8 goals today, and that makes his second goal that he has scored.
It feels like Ashland Joy could just get out of bed, not really warm up, and be a difference maker.
All the same, I have to credit Bravo for recognizing what Revolver was attempting to do. Revolver set up with that similar side stack, isolating one player in the middle of the field. Bravo did a good job of taking away option A. Revolver had to switch to option B. Again, at this point, it's important for Bravo to continue to make Revolver work a little bit harder, slow down the offense. If they continue to do that, they will generate opportunities. From there, it's a matter of whether or not they can capitalize on those opportunities. It's going to make the difference. Of course, now with the score at 10-5 San Francisco, they're running out of time.
Let's go, defense!
Johnny Bravo's first offensive point in this half was a quick score. And a junky look from Revolver. They get the throw they wanted, and Mickle rises up over Friedman. Then he fires a laser. Can Beaches get there? No.
I don't think that disc came out of his hands exactly the way he wanted to. Had he put a little inside out on it, it would have stayed flatter a little bit longer. Instead, it curved away from Beaches, making it impossible for him to even lay out and get.
Do you credit that turnover to Revolver's changing the pace defensively?
I don't think I would. I think Mickle would probably admit himself that that disc didn't come out of his hands the way he wanted it to.
Oh, there's a mistake. Byron Liu threw into the poach, toe-tailing intercepted. Westbrook swings it. Toe-tailing right back to Westbrook, who's unmarked for the moment. Now Doy starts the stall, but lands in the end zone.
That almost looked like a zipper play from Bravo. The first 2 people in the stack cut to the open side, leaving Lance a lot of room to run straight up the middle. Here we see the Revolver mistake that led to Bravo having the disc right outside of their end zone. This time, Mickle looking a little more conservative. Hoteling did a nice job cutting from the back of the stack to get that disc right outside of the end zone. And then in the stack, 2 Bravo players are streaking to the open side, and like I said, Lance was able to run straight up the middle to catch that disc.
Zipper play has been around for, I don't know if Ultimate was invented 49 years ago. Zipper's been around maybe 47 years. I wasn't there, neither were you, but feels like that play has been around for a long time.
It is a timeless play. It is a timeless play.
Do they have plays when they were just starting out after Joel Silver started everything in New Jersey? Certainly got much more structured through the years, and in 2017, you look at the Ultimate landscape, the Triple Crown Tour in year 6. Tom Chulet with the pull. These 2 teams met on this field this exact field in the U.S. Open final 3 years ago here in Blaine. Higgins wants Stewart. Stewart in the end zone easily wards off Conker to put San Francisco back up by 5. I'm not sure how you stop this.
Well, there certainly isn't much that you can, especially with as much pressure as Bravo is putting on their players.
The second huck from Higgins, that was a little floaty, but I guess if you have Nick Stewart, you have confidence in him.
Just
Why
put
not?
it in the general vicinity. It's okay if there are people there. Yeah, he does a good job of keeping Bravo on his back.
Nick Stewart, obviously Carleton College alum, was an assistant coach for the Carleton team that won a national title in Cincinnati this past Memorial Day weekend. Played for Minneapolis Sub-Zero for many years. Played for Seattle Sockeye a year ago. And I think when the Ultimate World learned that Nick Stewart was moving to the Bay Area, there was a sentiment of wow and a sentiment of that's not fair. But I think that's how a lot of people felt when he moved to Seattle. So you never know. That's why they play the games.
You know, it's interesting. That's the second time you've mentioned things not being fair revolving Revolver players, which just goes to show the level of insane talent that this team has.
Ream looking for Mickle. And he's got it. Oh, he squeezed it through. Mickle hugging the sideline, and Russell Wynn laying out, but coming up just short.
It's a nice rip from Elliot Ream. Big difference comparing that throw to the one Higgins put, which was a little bit loftier. Ream's throw had a lot more zip to it, meaning Mickle had a lot of space to run up and underneath it.
Gotta be honest, when Jesse Ream threw that, I was a little worried, was it gonna come back in bounds? But I'm a worrier.
Golly gee, Russell!
Jesse Ream, Ben Laurie, Henry Conker are the captains, but as much as anybody, this is Jimmy Mickle's team. You know, in January of 2011, Skide Magazine interviewed Jimmy when he was still in college, early in his college career, and they asked him what are his goals for Ultimate. And here's what he said, quote, "I want to become a dominant and respected player. I would also love at some point to coach and give back to the Ultimate community. There's nothing wrong with some championships."
I like it.
He has achieved all of that. He's won titles. He's become dominant and respected. And he's not even 26 years old. He'll be 26 in 2 weeks.
Guess it's time for him to sit down and have another goal-making session.
It's true. Kittredge to Sanchez. Marcelo Sanchez looking for Tom Doy. Too much.
Not much to say there. Revolver was doing a good job of flowing with their their horizontal stack, but just a little too much sauce on that disc sends it sailing.
Just the 5th turnover of the game for Revolver. I believe it's just the 3rd from the O-line, and Bravo has not capitalized on a Revolver O-line turnover yet. The trend continues.
Yep.
Stubbs to Kittredge. You look off Schlockett, maybe the best goal line cutter in the world, and you find Bo Kittredge, who might just be the best player of all time.
Just an unforced, uncharacteristic mistake. I think he thought that Chulit was about to move, but Chulit didn't move, therefore making it an easy turnover for Revolver, and they utilized it perfectly.
Bo Kittredge in year 9 playing for Revolver. Of course, played for Johnny Bravo before moving to the Bay Area. Feels like a long time ago now. He's proud of his new cap. And George Stubbs, he took a year off 2 years ago when Revolver last won a title. And remember, 2015, Revolver beats, I believe, Ironside for the national title. Maybe misremembering that. But Revolver wins, and asked Mike Payne, you've won your 4th title in 6 years. What do you have in store for us? He's like, well, we're getting George Stubbs, excuse me. We have a commitment from George to be on the team next year. And I think the Ultimate World was like, whoa, he'll fit in all right.
Yeah, Byron. Around.
It's a game to 15. Revolver's closing in. Bravo trying to continue its smooth offense, which they've done here in the second half. We've just been trading since the break. Ooh, tough catch made there by Beaches. Lance breaks the mark, and Mickle evades the bidding Byron Liu. Beaches marked by Davis. Antoine Davis shaken up, had to leave a point earlier in the game. Good to see him back out there as Westbrook shoots over everybody, and the blading flick finds Ben Laurie. So at least here in the second half, Bravo has corrected its offensive inconsistencies.
Yeah, that was a great find from Bravo. Laurie pulling back just enough to make him an inconspicuous receiver. Looked like Revolver didn't recognize how open he was, how potentially open he was, and didn't react to him moving, so it was a rather easy score. At this point, you're right, Evan, their offensive flow is improving. It now comes down to whether or not they can generate opportunities and utilize them. Revolver has given them a couple of gifts in the form of turnovers, but Bravo was not able to capitalize on those opportunities, therefore not closing the gap that they created earlier in this game.
And Johnny Bravo has not turned it over on offense here in the second half. Revolver turned it over on offense twice, and then the Bravo D-line gave it back both times. So we have had a string of holds since the Kevin Cox break to take it to half. Tom Chulit beginning his second year on Bravo. San Francisco's O-line, a lot of the familiar faces. You know, Tom Chulit really was a big playmaker for this Bravo team last year. A lot of people wondered, you know, how good would one of Australia's top players be on a U.S. team? And I think the answer is pretty convincingly, he's got game. He can compete. Stubbs wants Higgins. And Simon Higgins goes up and rips it away from David Wheeler. Nick Stewart running with the play. Goodness gracious, Simon Higgins didn't have position, makes the play anyway.
He adjusts really well and gets himself into more prime position. Of course, Bravo, a tiny bit shooken up, allows him to make any throw he wants at the front of the end zone. Thankfully, Stewart was following fast enough to be that option.
So another score for Stewart. And Simon Higgins, you know, we asked Mike Payne, who's been your best defensive player so far this weekend? And his answer surprised me. He said Simon. said even though he's an offensive guy, the defense he has played after turnovers has really sent a message to his teammates. Can Bravo's O-line respond? Hotailing rises. Laurie determined to break the mark, and he gets it around Cox. Great disc movement until the drop from Denny Beaches. Timeout called by Revolver. It'll be Dahlman's disc. When play resumes, San Francisco looking to stretch the lead to 6. If Revolver moves on, they'll face the winner of Sockeye Truck Stop. I've had a feeling throughout the tournament, Megan, that we're going to see 2 Pool A teams in the final. Not to disrespect Truck Stop, and would not be shocking to see them beat Sockeye later today. Ultiworld will stream that game. 4 great programs. I mean, it's hard to find too many flaws in any of these teams.
That's true, and watching Sockeye this weekend, I felt like they were doing a really good job of adjusting to their opponent. Sometimes they went down, but they were able to make the adjustments necessary to come back. And when you practice that earlier in the tournament, it's really going to help you farther along. So I agree with you. I feel like Sockeye has the edge on Truck Stop just because of how they've played so far this tournament.
You know, it's funny. Sockeye began the tournament by falling behind 4-1 and 8-5 from the team against the team from Italy, CSUB Lafada. CUSB Lafada, and they came back. Obviously, they won the game. It was a very inauspicious beginning to the tournament for Sockeye, but since then they won every game that mattered. They dropped a game against Ring, but they had already clinched their pool. Revolver's eager to clinch this game. Dahlman floats it to Johnson, and there's Cox again for the 3rd time today. Christian Johnson to Kevin Cox, and Revolver is within 1 of an easy win against Johnny Bravo.
What a put from Dahlman, nearly sending him into the end zone. Cox has been the favored sneak in from behind and nab the goal stat.
These guys have all developed. When you talk about Dahlman, who was a rookie with Revolver 2013. Christian Johnson moved out to the Bay Area a couple years ago after playing for Ring of Fire and UNC. Kevin Cox and Dahlman both were Polar Bears for their heyday earlier in the decade in the mixed division. This performance from Revolver. The O-line has not been broken. Revolver's turned it over 5 times in the game. And really, the D-line for Revolver has capitalized on almost every chance they've gotten.
They certainly have, and they've been flowing with the fluidity that one would expect from offensive players. So they're clearly very comfortable on either side of the disc, but you have to credit their defensive pressure for forcing some turnovers from Johnny Bravo. So very talented, well-rounded players have led to more conversions from Revolver than we've seen from Johnny Bravo.
I think it's 5 breaks and 7 chances for the San Francisco D-line. 3 of the 5 turnovers in the game have come from, 3 of the 5 Revolver turnovers have come from their O-line, and yet none of the 3 was Bravo able to respond and strike with a score. So this obviously a must score for Bravo. They will have a third place game, but that's not where they wanted to be. Westbrook marked by Kearns. Lance shooting for Westbrook. He's got it. Davis and Kearns trailing defensively. But Westbrook, who spent most of the game in the offensive backfield, mixes it up, takes the deep shot.
Lance worked so hard for Mickle that point. Prior to his throw, he was streaking deep, then came in to be his in option, showing that that's certainly not a bad decision for Jimmy Mickle to have sent it to him.
Wouldn't call this a marquee game for Nick Lance, but he certainly showed us a little bit of his old self, responding from the back injury that kept him out of the Pro Elite Challenge and Colorado Cup. Lance, 28 years old. Played for Atlanta's Chain Lightning in the past, of course, when he was at Georgia Tech. So Bravo's going to need one heck of a string of breaks. And the Revolver O-line with Stubbs, Marcy, Higgins, Joy, Stewart, Doy, and Schlockett. What stood out to you most about Revolver's performance in the tournament and specifically here in the semifinals?
Well, they've looked very confident to me the entire time, and that kind of attitude can really make a difference, especially as games start to get tight. You know, I feel like Bravo has the talent, has the capacity to come out with a string of breaks, but the way Revolver looks so comfortable and confident against this particular team at this time, I don't think it's possible.
Nick Stewart skies for the game-winning score. Simon Higgins with his best huck of the day to close it out. And a pretty routine 15-9 trouncing of a great club. Denver Johnny Bravo, nothing to laugh at, but this was a magnificent performance from opening pull to the final sky. Nick Stewart, I think he's fitting in all right with his new team.
I think he is. That looked like a classic choreographed pull play. Not something you would expect with the game on the line for Johnny Bravo.
Bravo finished the game with just 8 turnovers, but Revolver had only the 5, and Revolver was never broken. And San Francisco on to the finals at the US Open. Seems pretty routine for this program. Humility, intensity, and discipline. 15-9 over Johnny Bravo. The US Open Ultimate Championships are presented by Discraft Ultrastar. Find the official disc of USA Ultimate at more than 1,900 US retail locations. (15-9) San Francisco over Denver. Revolver on to the finals at the US Open yet again, and head coach Mike Payne kind enough to join us again down on the field. Mike, your O-line turned it over 3 times, but it got the disc back every time. You played 5 turnovers the entire game. Your O-line didn't get broken. Your thoughts on the 6-point win over Johnny Bravo?
It's the first solid game that we've played all year, and it's a nice time to come together. I think that we've been looking for a perfect game on offense, and it wasn't a perfect game. We did turn it over, but a big focus that we've had in the offseason here with our offensive team is getting it back when we turn it over. We were very poor at that last season, and it showed in the finals of nationals, and I think that we've improved.
How are you going to take the things that went well this game and carry them over to the next?
You know, the thing that we said that we needed to do coming into this game was just to have fun. We've been practicing really hard against each other, and it's been kind of a grind. over the course of the last couple months, and I think that we weren't having as much fun with it as of last weekend. And this morning we woke up and just decided that we were going to focus on fun. So I think you're going to see a loose team tomorrow that's going to be focusing on smiles and focusing on playing loose.
Mike, have you noticed Simon Higgins and Nick Stewart developing that chemistry together? Because they haven't played together for that long, but it certainly looks like they were looking for each other out there today.
Oh, man, you give two guys like that some space to play in, it doesn't take too much chemistry. I do think that they're learning how to play together, but the plain fact of the matter is when you've got natural cutters and natural jumpers and natural throwers like those guys, you just give them a little space, and they can easily play together.
I know you're looking forward to whoever you get tomorrow, whether it's Sockeye or Truck Stop. I'm sure you'd love to face Sockeye again. If you do face Sockeye again, what will you stress that you need to do differently compared to yesterday?
Well, I think we've got some new personnel back, including Ashlyn Joy on offense. So I think that'll help us have less turnovers on offense. I think that taking care of the ball early on in a point against Sockeye is really important because they throw a lot of junk early in points. So we'll be stressing, dismanagement early in the points. And then I just think the plain fact of the matter is that we were not playing close enough to our men on defense when we played Sockeye yesterday, and our score showed it. So I think you'll see a lot more, close defense downfield.
Mike, we always appreciate the time. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right, take care. Have a good night.
Revolver on to the finals here at the U.S. Open. Our Discraft play of the game, Kevin Cox narrowly getting to this disc before Jimmy Mickle's bid. I'm not sure if the play is the goal or the bid.
Well, either one, it was certainly exciting to watch, and I have to say Cox was great for Revolver today. He was always there when they needed him to finish out the plays, even as things got tough.
That's not Kevin Cox, but that's Nick Stewart. Nick, your first season with Revolver, it feels like you're fitting in all right. Have there been any hiccups into assimilating to a new team for the second year in a row?
Yeah, definitely. Coming into a new team, there's always going to be new people, new systems. So learning the plays and learning how everyone plays has definitely been a learning curve, but I think we're finally figuring it out.
And how did you help that develop further this weekend? Obviously, you were instrumental in today's game. Walk us through how you did that this weekend.
I think that what Revolver looks for from me is big cuts in space and then to clear hard to make space for other people. And I think that I did that particularly well today.
You say anything to Simon about not leading you as much on those hucks and making you go up and really work for it?
No, he's fine. He's a great thrower, and he's just putting him out there to space and letting me run onto him.
Nick, also interested in asking you a couple weeks later about the World Games. I know it was special for you to be a part of. When you think back on that weekend in Wrocław, Poland, you experienced some adversity, you peaked, you won. What stands out about that experience a couple weeks later?
Man, it's just an incredible experience overall. I think anybody who can go to the World Games in Alabama in 4 years should definitely make the trip. It's really, really incredible to be there. The volunteers, the field site, the people who put it together. It is a huge event, and that's what stood out to me the most was how small Frisbee is at the World Games. I think it's something like 84 athletes in Ultimate Frisbee and over 3,000 for the whole event. So the event itself is so large, and Frisbee's such a small part that that's very different from any other tournament that I've ever been at.
Well, it still has to be a highlight that you went to the World Games, won gold, but you come back and there's still a lot of work to do. How do you take the elements that you have put together this weekend and move forward as your season continues?
Yeah, I think that we just keep working, and I think losing to Sockeye yesterday might have been one of the best things for us in terms of not getting complacent. And we just got to keep knowing that we got to get better, and we always have to get better, and we can't ever be okay with where we're at.
Sockeye or Truck Stop tomorrow? You hoping for Sockeye to get another shot at those guys?
I think that would be nice, but we're hoping for a good game tomorrow.
I bet. Nick, congratulations on the win today. Appreciate your time, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Evan. Cut rules.
That's Nick Stewart. Of course, he had to get in the paying homage to his alma mater, Carleton College, that won their national title for a third time. Revolver has won a bunch of titles, 4 in fact, since 2010. Lost by 1 in the finals at Nationals last year, but looking like easily a Nationals contender and certainly the favorite as we sit here in early August. Long way to go, of course, but Revolver on to the final. They'll face Sockeye or Truck Stop tomorrow at 1:30 Eastern. So for Megan Tormey, this is Evan Lepler saying so long for now from the National Sports Center in Blaine, Minnesota, where the final score 15-9, Revolver over Johnny Bravo. It's always good to get a team photo in. The smiling faces are real. All games airing on the ESPN Network, streaming live on the ESPN app, or to watch the entire game on replay, as well as other games on our family of networks. Log on to WatchESPN.com or download the Watch ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN. Columbia versus Seattle in the women's division coming up next.